Welcome to Outta Class, for all those lessons you didn't learn in school. Your overall health, fitness and well-being starts with the right mindset and having those meaningful conversations. This is your host, Grant Roberts. Let's get into it.
I'll teach you a lesson now.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Outta Class Podcast. If you have been here before, welcome back. Let's get straight into this episode, hopefully entertaining, educational, and engaging. As the title goes, stop validating your excuses for your poor decision making and your actions. Now, this topic I started thinking about a bit more from my time as a coach with many different clients in the gym, with nutrition, and just in general having conversations with people, knowing that I am in the health space. I've heard every excuse in the world, but not only that, I hear a lot of validation for excuses. People making excuses for their actions before they've even taken the action. This is the theme of this podcast. I want to talk about the possible reasonings behind why people do this and some personal experiences or excuses that I've heard and examples that I've heard for why people do this, but maybe help you understand why you may be doing this yourself. You may be in a position where you're doing this yourself and you need a bit of a reality check, or you need to realize that what you're doing is very detrimental in trying to reach your goals, trying to be successful in what you are pursuing. So I heard one of these excuses just the other day, but I'll give a lot of examples as we go along. So people often don't consciously try to justify bad decisions. They're usually just trying to protect their self-image or reduce the discomfort of admitting they made mistakes. Like psychology calls this you would have heard this, rationalization, cognitive dissonance reduction, and I'm going to explain some of the most common ways this happens and give some examples and hopefully give some solutions to stop doing this very detrimental behavior that we do. As I said at the start, unconsciously, a lot of the time, it's human nature. We want to present our best selves. Just look at Instagram, just look at Facebook, look at social media in general. People want to portray the best version of themselves. So giving an excuse and rationalizing poor behavior or things that contradict the person we are trying to be or want to portray is very, very normal, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be normal because it's preventing us from, as I said at the start, being our best selves, accomplishing things, and not letting simple excuses or a mindset get in the way of what we could be achieving and the person that we could be and want to be, which is our best selves. Blaming external circumstances. This is one of the most common things that I hear time and time again. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to talk about clients directly. Obviously, in the health space, I have a very professional standpoint when it comes to information that clients give me, that the client coach relationship. I keep it very professional. Anything that they say to me stays confidential between me and them. So I'm definitely going to generalize when it comes to these examples. I'm not saying that some of my previous clients haven't used these excuses. That's not what I'm saying. I might have used them in the past, for sure. I would have. So I'm just going to go through some of the main points, hopefully. Maybe give you a realization or just help with the topic and help prevent you making or validating these excuses going forward and actually taking positive steps and action towards your goals. without the excuses holding you back. So blaming external circumstances, things like, oh, I had no choice, the economy is bad, my parents made this way. So blaming external circumstances is the easiest way to shift the control away from yourself and make it seem as if you have no choice because of all the influences around you. You're literally telling everybody you still couldn't make a choice. Your hands were tied and prevented you from staying on track with the goal or from making a poor decision. But even more than that, one of the biggest problems I see and most common problems I see, and the theme of this podcast, I would say overall, is people validating their excuses before the event has even happened, before the action has even taken place, before these external environments have even presented themselves. They're validating their excuses before they've even taken the action, not making excuses for something that's already happened, which to me is it's interesting. It's it's disturbing at the same time. So I might get a client again. I'm not pin picking any clients that I've had in person, just from experience. A client says, or somebody in general, it doesn't even have to be in client, just general conversations I've had at the gym or otherwise, or in my clinical work as a nutritionist. Uh, I've got a busy weekend coming up. I don't know how my eating is going to go this week. It's going to be terrible because I have to go to a family dinner. We're celebrating my friend's baby's first birthday, and they're going to have cake there. They're going to have all those lollies and kids treats and things. I'm definitely going to mess up my nutrition this week, and that's validation right there. That and premeditation that you're not going to stick to your diet. You've already made a choice before the environment has presented itself, that you're giving yourself an excuse to eat like shit and get off track and pretty much fail your goals before that situation has even arisen. And to me, it is a poor excuse and a reflection of a weak mindset to validate an action that hasn't already happened yet. You're giving yourself a way out because it's easier. That's how I look at it. It's easier to pretty much admit failure before you've even taken the action, which is also, to me, it's a little bit disappointing and sad. I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen. And it doesn't happen. It happens a lot. A lot of people go through this every single week. They have an event coming up and they're already telling themselves they're going to fail due to this event or this situation that they are in. Now, my answer to this, or my thoughts on this, are you don't have to deprive yourself of the piece of cake. You don't have to not go to an event in the fear that you're going to fail, so you cancel because you're scared you can't go somewhere and control your eating habits, or say no to things because of peer pressure. But you have to realize the thinking and the feelings behind what you're saying, and trying to rationalize your excuses and setting yourself up for failure ultimately before something has even happened. That's a common circumstance I see, a common situation that I see with many clients and just people in general. So you're failing before you've even started. I guess that's an easy way to explain it. You've heard that saying before, and I just see that happening more and more now with the abundance and availability of food and temptation to go off track with your goals. That is a huge thing. So blaming external circumstances. Are you doing it? Have you done it before? I've definitely done it before. Have I gotten better at not doing it? 100%. So if I know I've got an event coming up, I'm going to try and give solutions as I go along. Also, I'm just going to give examples of things that you or other people might be doing without giving solutions, because ultimately this podcast is here to help you with your goals, give solutions, give some free coaching and advice along the way. What do I do when I've got something coming up that I know might be outside my current eating routines or my current goals? I plan ahead. Simple. The same way people are validating their excuses ahead of time, why not have a plan of action ahead of time so you can stick to your goals and also enjoy yourself at these events that you didn't plan, or these external circumstances that you ultimately end up in without a choice. You can still control something. Controlling what you can is your superpower. For me, say for example, I'm on 2,000 calories a day, and I know that I'm going to a party. There's going to be alcohol, there's going to be an abundance of food at this event. What can I do? Simply equate for that. Do I have the willpower not to eat these foods? At times, yes. At other times, absolutely not. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to overeat everything in that room or that situation. So what do I do to make sure that no matter how I'm feeling, some days I might feel more disciplined than others, and I might be able to just have, one slice of cake, or, a couple pieces here and there, or one beer, or whatever it is. I don't drink much alcohol these days as it is, but as far as food goes, depending on the day, depending on how I'm feeling, I can lose control just like anybody else. So what will I do for myself, knowing that I might have a weak day, a day where I'm feeling vulnerable and not able to control or be as disciplined as I usually am? I'll bank up some calories for the whole week, for that weekend, just to ensure I've got a buffer there. So then if I am going to go a bit out of control, I still end up falling within my goal. So example before, 2,000 calories a day. Say it's Monday, I know I've got this impending weekend coming up where there's an event, there's going to be an abundance of food. What do? I simply bank up my calories for that week. I might eat 200 calories less every single day that week up until the event. So banking up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 1,200 calories extra just by having 200 under. I might eat 1,800 calories up until that point, knowing then I have 1,200 calories to play with on that day. Even if I don't use them, it doesn't matter, because I'm still staying within my intake that I need for that week. Hitting my protein every single day, still training the same, doing what I do, but just allowing myself that if I do hit a weak point, I'm still going to succeed. So the same way you're validating your excuses is the same way you can plan ahead for what's to come. That is my main message there. Another common excuse people make is comparing themselves to others doing worse. So they validate their poor actions or their excuses and compare it to people doing worse than them. You'll never see people running down people. You do. This is probably a bad example, but people will run down people doing better than them. But a lot of the time, people will compare themselves to people doing worse than them because it makes them look better. They'll even run down people that are doing better than them because it makes them look better also. Saying things like, at least not as bad as someone. I'm not as bad as Jenny. She drinks wine every single night. I'm only having drinks on the weekend. I've got it under control. Or everyone else is doing it, so it's normal. It's fine. Like, everyone else at the party is going to be binge eating, or not counting their calories or whatever it may be. So what's the problem here? What does it matter? The problem is you've got bigger goals than them. You've got different goals and a different lifestyle to them. So that is the problem there. So comparison is the thief of all joy, and comparison is another way of shifting the blame to somebody else, or taking the focus off you and your actions and placing it somewhere else so you don't have to deal with it, or it makes you look better and you're again validating what you're doing ahead of time or even after the fact. Huge one here, especially on social media, validating excuses or actions or reasons for what you're doing. And that's cherry picking evidence, looking for information that only supports your decision and ignoring contrary evidence. You could say this for a lot of things, but when it comes to excuses or your actions, it's very easy. Oh, so and so does this, so I should be able to do it. I saw this super shredded guy. He lives on chocolate. He drinks every single weekend and he's fine, so I should be able to do it. But the difference is this guy, you don't know this person on social media. What are they doing off social media? Are they just portraying something and showing you something to make it engaging and make it look like they have this flexible life? You don't know if they have an eating disorder off this social media platform. You don't know if they even drink alcohol. How do you know that alcohol bottle isn't filled up with water, or that vodka bottle isn't filled up with water, and they're just portraying this party life and for a marketing what's the word, like an angle to engage you and sell you a flexible meal plan? You don't know. So that type of thing, or saying you read something that's said that saturated fats or sugar isn't harmful you based on this article I got sent from an AI doctor online. Cherry picking evidence to validate, again, your excuses. This one is huge, and this kind of goes back to stopping and starting and basically premeditated poor action, and that is changing the goalposts. You know you're going to fail, so you say that you never really wanted to do it anyway, or your goals changed completely. Oh, I wanted to drop body fat, but it didn't really work for me. I just feel like I'm just going to try and build some muscle now and put some strength on, so I'm not really going to worry about diet now. I've got too many social events anyway, so I can't really sustain eating healthy or sticking to my calories because, yeah, I don't feel like it's for me anymore. And what you're really saying is you just didn't have the discipline, you didn't have the structure in place or the plans, or the willpower, or the ability to say no to people when you've got a goal, and be courageous and maybe go at things alone. That's basically what you're saying, but it's easier just to change the goalpost or change the goals. You see this a lot with a lot of people that never really achieve anything. They'll bounce from program to program, or goal to goal, or fad to fad, and never really exceed in that goal that they're chasing. And before they even give themselves a chance to achieve that goal, they've already moved on to something else, and they're just continuing as that heading that I've made goes, changing the goalposts to not have to face failing, or really giving something a go, and practicing discipline and not making excuses for everything. It might be something like, this is a very common excuse people make, and that is calling it self-care. So they're detrimental habits they call self-care. You've heard this a lot. I just live a little. Oh, one beer won't hurt, or coming out with the boys on the weekends won't hurt if you're disciplined during the week. I've had a stressful day. I'm just going to go and get takeaway. I can't be bothered cooking this tonight. I've just had one of those days. So I'm going to go and eat a whole pizza to myself. Nothing wrong. Disclaimer, nothing wrong with eating a whole pizza to yourself, but if you're doing it over and over again, or it doesn't fit within your goals, then same thing. It's not self-care. It's self-harm in the big scheme of things. I'm protecting my peace. You avoid the difficult conversations with yourself by labeling your poor actions and your poor excuses with something that sounds more positive. You're calling it self-care. You're calling it a break. Oh, I need a holiday from all of this. I'm just so stressed. When at the end of the day, it's not going to make you feel any better. It's not going to make you less stressed. Waking up feeling like shit the next day from the food or the drinks that you had, or whatever it may be. It might be drugs, whatever you've had, isn't going to make you feel any better. How is doing something detrimental towards your goals self-care? You can't explain that. You can't explain that to me in any justifiable way. Using antidotes over data, this kind of goes back to cherry picking evidence, I suppose. Things like my uncle smoked until he was 95 years old, so a couple of cigarettes here and there won't hurt. When the evidence shows that, yeah, a fair few cigarettes can hurt you and increase your risk dramatically of heart disease, lung disease, chronic diseases and illnesses, and life expectancy. Saying things like, oh, my friend lost weight. Oh, I said this before, my friend lost weight eating chocolate every day, living on junk food. And then that's just anecdotal evidence over actual scientific evidence and what's proven and what statistics are actually there when it comes to eating predominantly nutrient dense, high protein meals over shit food majority of the time, and what it does for your overall health and well-being. This is a huge one. Also, I see this daily, not just with clients, but just with general conversation with people, and that is shifting responsibility. I said this with environments as far as external factors go. You have a situation you're going to be in socially, but shifting responsibility is huge when it comes to people validating their excuses. My partner's sabotaging me. They keep bringing chocolates home. My partner wants to go out to eat all the time, and we had to go to the movies and watch a movie. Of course, we got popcorn and we got a choc top and we had pizza before we went to the movies, went out for dinner. If only my boss appreciated me more. They'd give me more time to go and work out and train, and our workplace should provide us with free gym memberships. It'd be so much easier for me that way if I didn't have to work as much. If only my trainer gave me a better program. You don't need a better program, you just need to stick to the one you've got consistently. Even the most basic full body program, you will get results if you are progressively overloading the exercises you are doing, challenging yourself and sticking to it consistently. You will get results. I'm not saying you shouldn't change your programs at different times, but don't blame the program. Don't blame the trainer or the coach if you are not consistent. If you're not being honest with your efforts and your consistency, it's very easy to shift responsibility to somebody else. And this can be premeditated pretty early on with people. They can have all the tools that they need to succeed, but they don't use the tools, and then they blame the unused tools for their failure. Okay. Again, normalizing repeated failure. This is another very common trait I see for people who validate their excuses all the time. Saying things like, oh, it's normal to fluctuate in and out of being heavier or lighter, or skipping the gym. I go through phases of I'll hit the gym for a few months and then I have a few months off. Totally normal. Everybody does it. Not the people that get results time and time again, they don't. Everyone gains weight back. No, they don't. Not if you've learnt and you apply sustainable, healthy eating habits and your relationships with food and your environments. You don't just gain the weight back, or you don't get super unhealthily skinny either. It's both edges of the sword. You have to find that balance. And it turns the common struggle into an excuse not to improve. It's just normalizing repeated failure. Another one, this one is, again, super common. You would have heard all these before, or you would have made these excuses yourself. I've definitely done this before myself. I'm not perfect, just over time I've gotten better and better at not validating my excuses and sticking to my routines. Waiting for the perfect time. I could go back to the first excuse after this. Sorry about the dog barking again. Pretty much every episode I do now, you're just going to have to accept there's a dog next door that just barks all day during the day. Is it annoying? Yes. But can I control it? No. Is an excuse for me not to record this podcast? Could be, but I'm not going to validate the excuse for something that is out of my control. Anyway, waiting for the perfect time. I'll start Monday. I'll wait until work settles down. I'm traveling for work. Oh, it's Christmas time now. It's going to be a whole month of binge eating and going to Christmas parties and getting drunk and partying. And I'll just start again January 1st like everybody else. Just write it off. It doesn't matter. Again, validation, premeditated validation of excuses and your poor actions. And it's not hard these days, especially with social media. It's easy to find a tribe. So this is seeking social validation, asking friends or people around you to reinforce the decision rather than challenge it. A lot of the time, unfortunately, our long-term friends, the people that we hang around, until we realize better, a lot of people never realize, which is super sad. The people you choose to have as friends are the people that will validate your poor excuses, your bad decisions. They'll validate it, they'll support it, they'll encourage it, and they'll even partake in your detrimental behaviors. I've got many personal experiences in doing this when it comes, especially growing up as a male, a bit of a rebel, I would say, growing up, drinking, risk-taking behavior. All these things were certainly validated and weren't challenged by a lot of the people that I hung around growing up. Surrounding yourself with people who have similar habits, make those habits feel more acceptable. Again, I've said this in many podcasts previously, and I'll say it again. You become the people you hang around. If people aren't challenging you to be better, they're not pulling you up when you are making bad decisions, then you're just going to continue it. If you're hanging around people who have poor standards, who make excuses, who validate the same kind of habits that you're making, then how are you ever going to change? If you've always got someone there telling you that it's okay to make a poor decision, then how are you ever going to pull yourself out of that situation and improve yourself? Now, this podcast isn't actually going to go too long. I just wanted to cover those main points, and I'm going to try and give solutions now to most of the points that I've made, and hopefully this podcast won't go too long. I know a lot of you don't mind how long it goes, but I don't like to make the podcast go longer than it has to go, I suppose. I want to get the main points across, move on to the next podcast or the next topic, and get as much information as I can in there. Again, blaming external circumstances, it doesn't matter what the situation is, it's up to you to decide what you're going to do in that situation. If people are going to tease you for not drinking, or people are going to tease you for not having a slice of cake because you're sticking to a goals, then they're not your friends. They're not people that you should be hanging around and going to birthdays with anyway. They should be understanding of your situation, especially if you are already super unhealthy and you're trying to make a healthy decision to improve your life, your well-being, and these people are running you down for that reason, then fuck those people. Get rid of those people. You don't need those type of people in your life. I'm not saying you cut off family and things, but just don't let other people's jokes or their what they think is best for you dictate what your actions are. I've been in so many different work meetings. I'm not going to name the workplaces. Pretty much most workplaces are like this from what I hear these days, but you get catering a lot of the time. People bring in foods. There's a birthday, there's cake, there's abundance of food there that probably isn't the best for you. And I've had people say to me many times, I've had literally been in offices where someone's had a birthday and they brought cake in and everything, and before I've even made a decision whether I'm going to have some cake or not, people said, "Oh, don't worry, Grant won't eat that. Oh, I feel guilty eating around Grant because he's not going to eat any of it. Look at him, he doesn't eat cake." Just things like that. And whether I was going to eat it or not, like, I still made up in my mind. I didn't let what they said dictate it. I could have been super mean. I could have said something, super mean, and called that person out. If I wanted to, with situations like, they could have said, "Yeah, I don't eat cake and you eat cake, and look at the difference between us." I said something super shallow. I could have probably went to HR and complained about that. Like, there's definitely a double standard when it comes to this as well. I know people who have been overweight and then got in shape would have experienced this before. People who are fit and healthy probably get more flack a lot of the time than people who are overweight when it comes to commenting on what fit people are eating or healthy people are eating, and saying what they can and can't do compared to fat shaming. I would say a lot of the time this might be a controversial opinion, but I definitely know from my point of view, I caught more slack, or I have been given more opinions on what I'm eating now compared to when I was overweight. People didn't say anything when I was overweight about eating too much or drinking too much alcohol. But as soon as I got in shape, as soon as I was healthy, people are going to tell you how they feel and feel like it's okay to tell you how you can eat and what you can drink and what you can do, because they, for some reason, think that you can deal with it better. Can I? Yes, personally, I can. I don't give a fuck what anybody else says. It's probably why over the years I've gotten better and better. I've stayed disciplined, and I've gotten used to just staying razor sharp focused on being my best self and doing what I know overall is most important, and that's happiness and health, no matter what anybody else says. Comparing themselves to other people doing worse, well, that's never going to get you anywhere. Personal opinion here. If you're focused on people doing worse than you, then you're not going to improve any better. The famous saying of you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room, because if you are, you're not learning anything new. There is people that sit in these rooms or sit in these situations for far too long, and they're never going to excel. Some people enjoy that. Some people enjoy being the best in their environment. But if you're there, you have hit the epitome or the top of as far as you're going to go, because you're not learning anything new, not being challenged, or you're not seeing somebody exceed what you have already achieved or achieving more than you. So how are you going to be inspired, and how are you going to learn more? So comparing yourself to people doing worse doesn't work. And even comparing yourself to people that are doing better than you doesn't work all the time. You should be comparing yourself to where you are right now and trying to improve on that. Simple as that. I'm not going to talk more about that. Cherry picking evidence. Super easy to find something to validate your excuses or validate your actions. It doesn't matter how wild your idea is or your actions are. You can somewhere find a study that has been done, or find some evidence that validates your actions and the reason you're doing what you do. There's big hype around things like BPC 157, the body protection compound 157. A lot of people are taking that at the moment. Now, this isn't, I'm not going to give my opinion on it or anything. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I don't know enough about it, but I know that is a good example of cherry picking evidence. So evidence out there that people are sharing right now of how good it is, and everyone seems to be having miracles when it comes to their existing or prolonged injuries and the recovery, and it's amazing. But long story short, there isn't enough evidence out there. There certainly isn't enough human trials out there to say whether it's long term good or bad or beneficial. But that would be a good example of cherry picking evidence and then taking action based on that without enough evidence to validate your actions. Changing the goalposts, same sort of thing. I gave examples of this before. If you don't stick to a goal long enough for it to work, or you keep changing your goals or delaying when you're going to take action, you're never going to achieve these things. So what I would say when it comes to a goal, if you haven't heard of this before, you should have, especially in today's world of social media, especially if you're in the health and fitness industry or your algorithms are set to that and you're consuming a lot. You would have heard of a SMART goal. And that is something that is timeless when it comes to sticking to your goals, not having to goal shift and shift the goalposts, as this example goes. So a SMART goal stands for specific, measured, attainable, realistic, and timed. And I would say the biggest part of the SMART goal would be making it specific and having a timeline. So the S and the T in the SMART goal would be the most important parts of that. Obviously, being able to measure it, it being realistic and attainable, of course, they are part of that. But you want something that is specific and you want a timeline to achieve it. Because if you don't set the timeline, you have no urgency to achieve it. And if it isn't specific enough, you're not going to have a direction in order to, or a plan in order to follow that specific goal. So if your specific goal is running 100 meters in a certain amount of time, you want to break a record, you want to get 100 meters in under 10 seconds, but your goal isn't specific and you're doing powerlifting instead of going out and sprinting and doing training specific to getting faster in the 100-meter race, then your goal isn't specific enough. But if your goal is, I want to break a record in the 100 meters at this specific time in a year from now, 3 years from now, I want to break the 100-meter record in running, then that's specific enough and you have a timeline in order to work towards it, then you can set your goals in place. Your goals won't shift off that. You can get the training necessary, the programming, everything in order to make that happen. Calling it self-care. Again, I don't think I have to delve too much more into that. The excuses, I deserve this, has been a stressful day, protecting my peace, whatever it may be. Disguising something as self-care, you know deep down whether it is self-care or not. You know deep down whether you're just delaying having to take action or you're delaying or ignoring self-accountability when it comes to these things. It's an easy excuse. I had a bad day. I'm going to somehow make my day feel better by eating shit food or getting drunk or whatever it may be, or skipping your workout. Ask anybody. You never regret the workout that you didn't feel like doing and you still did it. You never regret it when you walk out of the gym. It doesn't matter how many times you've been, those days you struggle to get out of bed. I've been doing this, I don't know how many years now, 15 years, and I've never regretted finishing a workout when I didn't feel like going. Especially right now, you can see I've got the beanie on. If you're watching this, I've got the hoodie on. It's cold in the morning. It was -1 this morning when I woke up. The morning before that, I had to scrape ice off my windscreen before I went to the gym. Do you feel like I felt like getting up and going to the gym? No. Did I feel amazing after I'd finished my gym session, as I always do? Yes, I definitely did. I did not regret it. This goes back to pin picking or cherry picking evidence, same thing. Using antidotes over data, so just hearing stories from other people. The example I gave, my uncle smoked till he was 95 and he's fine. A couple of cigarettes every weekend won't hurt. Antidotes over data. Don't rely on anecdotal evidence. Everyone is so different, individual, the things we need, the way our bodies are. Stop doing that, I would say. Shifting responsibility. It is your responsibility, your health and your responsibility. Unless you are a child in care and you are still learning these things, you are unable to buy your own food and look after yourself. You're not making the decisions in the house. You're not an adult and able to make these decisions, then don't blame anybody else for your eating habits. Don't blame the people around you. Oh, they cook shit food all the time, or they bought this, they brought this home, they're just sabotaging me. No, you're sabotaging yourself by making the decision to still eat that food or not go out and take control of the shopping or do your own shopping and do things. You have the ability to. If you're a fully grown adult and you're not in control of that, or you can't have that conversation with your partner, then you've got a lot of bigger issues to deal with before worrying about your health goals. That's all I want to say on that. Normalizing repeated failure. Now, I would just say with this point that the more you validate your excuses, the more you get better at validation of excuses of detrimental actions, the more you're going to repeat it. The easier it is you are going to get at repeating it over and over again. Just like anything else, just like good habits. The more you do them, the more they become reinforced. Your bad habits are the same. The more you normalize repeated excuses, repeated failures, the more you're going to do them. It becomes easier and easier and easier. So you have to decide what you want to become easier for yourself. Detrimental habits and decisions or good ones. Simple as that. Waiting for the perfect time. There's no better time than right now. Don't start tomorrow. Don't start Monday. Don't start next week when the weather gets better. Don't start in summer. Classic example again, people stop working out for some reason in winter, and then 2 weeks from summer they want a summer body. Guess what? It's not going to happen. It has never happened. Nobody has ever achieved their summer body in 2 weeks before summer. They achieve it in the cold weather, rugged up in their jackets, in their hoodies, and they still grind. They still get out of bed when it's hard, and then they are a reflection of that work done in winter during summer. Seeking social validation. That's the last point I wanted to cover. Stop seeking social validation from everybody else. The majority of people don't have your best interests in mind. Don't seek advice from friends or supposed friends or a group that hasn't achieved what you want to achieve or is constantly saying it's okay or encouraging you to do things that are detrimental towards your goals. You have to get rid of that shit. I'm not saying you can't be friends with these people. I'm just saying you have to have the ability and the mental strength and mindset to be able to call out your own bullshit. Be able to have those tough conversations with yourself. Am I really taking the action? Am I putting 100% into my goals? Am I making the right decisions, or am I just making poor excuses over and over again? You have to be able to call you out your own bullshit. That's all I really want to say on that. So if there's any skill you can have, and I say this especially when it comes to health, nutrition, fitness, just living an overall healthier lifestyle, your number one superpower is being able to have real conversations with yourself. Have those hard conversations with yourself and call yourself out. Tell yourself you're being a bitch. Be able to pull yourself out of that situation and say, fuck, I can, sorry for the language, but sorry, like, you should be able to look yourself in the mirror and have those conversations with yourself, or sit there and be able to pull yourself out of those excuses. Know when you're not living up to what you should be. Know when you're copping out of a situation and taking the easy route. Ignorance is bliss. Yes, ignorance is bliss, but it's never going to get you anywhere. Comfort, living in a make-believe world isn't going to get you real results, undeniable results. So if anything out of this podcast, I would say practice and get good at talking to yourself and calling out your own bullshit and being realistic. Being self-accountable will be your superpower. As that last point goes, just trying to get validation from other people is never going to work. And chances are, if you validate your excuses already and you make excuses for yourself, it's very easy to find people with the same mindset as you, failing the same as you, and in the same situation as you when it comes to making goals and failing them. It's very easy to find people that want you to fail, but they will coat it with validation of your poor actions and excuses. And it probably sounds a bit doom and gloom, saying, oh, you can't trust people, but if anything, you got to learn to be able to trust yourself, not let yourself down, and be self-accountable. That is my message right there. Positive self-talk, realistic self-talk, and self-accountability. I really hope you got something out of this podcast, and I didn't go on too long as I usually do. I probably did towards the end there, but I just wanted to get my main message across in this podcast as always. So if you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my Spotify. If you enjoyed it, please share it on your social media also. I feel like if you're getting some value out of it, there might be a few hundred other people that might get something out of it also. So that is what I want to do. I'm doing this because I want to help as many people as possible. I want to give you somebody relatable, somebody who is going to be genuine and just share the advice and the experiences that I've had to achieve what I have and to continue to improve on what I have. Very imperfect, just like all of us, but like you, just trying to improve, trying to learn, trying to get better, asking questions, sharing information. That is how we all get better together. Again, thanks for joining me in this podcast. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's podcast and found it helpful, share it on your Instagram story, and don't forget to tag me at Grant Roberts PT.